Welcome to lesson 2.6, write ratios and proportions. Now a ratio is just comparing two quantities using division, and it can be written one of three different ways. You might see it written as A divided by B, so quantity A divided by quantity B. You might see it written as quantity A colon quantity B, and so it compares them more side to side, or you might see it as just A to B, and comparison more with words in that case. All three of these are ratios. So let's go and just try actually making some ratios. So volleyball team plays 14 home and 10 away matches. Find the ratio of home to away matches. Well, we know that the number of home games we have is 14, and the number of away matches we have is 10. So you could do it as 14 colon 10. You could do it as 14 divided by 10, or as 14 to 10. You only have to put one of these down. I'm putting down all three just to help you be able to see what options would be there. You could also then find the ratio of home to all matches, which we still know that we have 14 at home, but the all means every match. So 14 home plus our 10 away would give us a total of 24 different matches. All of these are correct answers. However, depending on your math teacher, depending on how people interpret what is correct or more correct, you can also simplify these down. So like 14 tenths, you know that is a fraction that you could simplify that down. So you could actually write that as 7 fifths. So that means you could also write this one as 7 to 5 or as 7 to 5. It's harder to see in those other forms how you can simplify it. So if you want to just defer to a fraction, that is more than okay. So if you think of it as 14 over 24, those could both be divided by 2, which would give us a 7 over 12. So that means this could also be a 7 to 12 or 7 to 12. I would accept any of those, but it's up to you as to what you prefer. And if anyone's watching this in different math class, depends on what your teacher says. Now for a proportion is two sets of equations of ratios that are set equal to each other. So you could have it as like A over B equals C over D. The easiest way to solve proportions most times is to actually cross multiply. And so for that, you would multiply A times D, which would be equal to B times C. Now, I believe that's actually going to come up just in a little bit naturally, but I wanted to introduce it here just so you got to see it, because that will be the easiest way to solve stuff. So let's go and look at this proportion. So 11/6 equals x over 30. So you can multiply your 11 times 30, and that will equal 6 times x. So 11 times 30 is 330, and 6 times x is just 6x. We can now divide both sides by 6, and that's going to come out to x equals 55. And that's all the more there is to this one. Now, another way you could actually try to solve that one is if you notice that your denominators could be, like, you could find a common denominator between the two. Say you notice, oh, 6 times 5 would get us to 30. You could also do that with your numerator. So 6 times 5 would get us 30. 5 times 11 would get us to 55. And since your denominators now match, that means your numerators will also have to match. So you could just see there then that x is still going to equal 55. That's just another way to try to solve proportions, depending on what works better in your scenario. One last word problem for today. So the elevator that takes passengers from the lobby of the John Hancock Center in Chicago to the observation level travels 150 feet in 5 seconds. The observation level is located on the 94th floor at 1,029 feet above the ground. Find the time it takes the elevator to travel from the lobby to the observation level. Wow. Well, Let's just look at it this way. So we have 1,029 feet, and we need to know how much time that takes to go that far. Well, we can set that equal to, we go 150 feet in 5 seconds. And this is one of those times when you can't really get your denominators to match. That'd be really hard. So we're going to actually just do some cross multiplication instead. So we'll have 150x, as long as I write that in the right order. 150x equals 5 times 1,029 comes out to be 5,145. You can now divide both sides by 150, and that's going to come out to be x equals about 34.3. And just as a reminder, when you're doing about, you should really use these squiggly lines to say x is about this. It's not exactly, but it's pretty close. So that's all the more there is to 2.6. So if you have any questions, let me know. And otherwise, good luck.